This is part 2 of our conversation talking about intentional behavior. Last week we talked about intentional behavior in part 1, and I shared with you that this week was going to get a lot more deeper, which means like it has more of a level of intensity than last week was. And so if you didn't watch or listen to last week, make sure you go back and check that out. You can do that now or you can do it later, but this week we're going to get a little bit more deep into it. Welcome back to another episode of the You, Me, and Jesus podcast. We are here every Sunday talking about all the things, Christian things, life things, and all that. And today we are continuing our conversation as we dive into intentional behavior. Okay. And so it is important to know that for those of you all that are watching this on YouTube, I do have notes over here. So you are going to see me kind of look off screen to make sure that I have, my notes up. Now, if you're listening on a podcast, you can't even tell, you wouldn't even have known that I did it. But I have to say that because I'm also recording. All right. So I love talking about these types of things, especially when it comes to growing, being intentional. And, I say the word growing, but I also mean like maturing, like I remember like last year before that, I had this moment after therapy and I was just like, oh, I am maturing, like I had a realization that I was immature in an area, and like from the therapy session, I was just like, oh, I'm maturing. And so this is kind of one of those conversations where I am helping you to be able to mature as I'm helping myself to mature. So when we are talking about intentional behavior, we're talking about things that you intentionally are doing for growth, for whatever it is you want to have happen in your life. So I know last week we had talked about like weight loss or exercise, and some of the intentional behaviors we talked about was filling up water bottles before the end of the night, before you go to sleep. It was setting out my vitamins. It was my friends, setting their shoes right in front of their bed. Like when they were trying to get out of bed, their tennis shoes are right there. And we're talking about just like setting these behaviors that help us to, do the things that we say we want to do, are gonna do. And so now we're going to really talk a little bit more deeper, like I shared a little bit earlier. And I have, 4 or 5 different things here that I wanted to mention are intentional behaviors. But I just need you to know, like always, that some of them are a little bit deeper than others. And you may or may not agree with them. You may or may not agree that you need them. But you can just, take what works for you, and then you can run with it. Okay. So one of the first things that I love talking about as an intentional behavior is going to therapy. Okay, it's going to therapy. And I didn't always feel this way, but I felt like I used to feel like that you go to therapy when something is wrong, right? Or you go to therapy like couples counseling or premarital counseling or whatever. But when something is bad, you go to therapy. And so I didn't really start going to therapy until I got married, and we were not on the same page, a lot. I mean, it was early on in our marriage, but I also wanted to have a healthy marriage, and knowing that I wasn't perfect, knowing that he wasn't perfect. And I wanted us to go on this journey of like wholeness, growing, individually and together. And it wasn't until I was really, really deep into this marriage. I was only married for like 9 months. Well, officially over than that, but I left him at like the 9-month mark. And if you're brand new to the podcast, I left because he was unfaithful very early in marriage. And so I didn't realize how much therapy that I actually needed until I left, right? And initially, I left to go through therapy because I knew that it was painful. I knew that I couldn't do this alone. I knew that I was going to need some type of help. And the first person I can go to was the therapist that we were already going to while we were married, because she already knew me a little bit. So I was like, okay, I'll just go to her, But over the years, it's been like 10 years since I've been divorced, and I have stayed in therapy. And one of the reasons why I stayed in therapy was because as I was navigating, just going through the divorce journey, all these other things started to come up in my life. And I was like, that's interesting, And instead of me just wanting to stay that way, I had this knowing that I did not know what I was doing. and that I needed some help. Like I needed somebody to help me to be able to navigate certain things. I needed somebody to give language to a thing. And I didn't really know that until when I was going through therapy after divorce, when she was telling me the 5 stages of grief. And she was just introducing me to all these things that I had never, ever, ever heard of. And so as I was navigating life after divorce, I started like experiencing the trauma of divorce. I started experiencing the highs and lows of it all, me lashing out, me just all this stuff. And even though I'm out of that season or whatever, I still kept saying, well, I have this reoccurring thing that I think, that I say, that I do, like, what's going on there? And then, I said, well, there's a reason, there's something happening there. I don't know what it is. And instead of me waiting on somebody to tell me, I'm going to go pay for it. And somebody's going to help me understand what in the world's going on. And not only that, when my grandma passed away and I went home, like being around family was so triggering. I didn't know how triggered I was. I didn't even know the word trigger. And I was like, I think I should probably get some therapy around this because my grandma just died and all that. And I started like seeing more and experiencing more and realizing even more, from that. And so now, I continue to stay in therapy because like life is life. I'm 42 years old. We got 42 years of life. And when I think about intentional behavior is I am intentionally going to therapy to grow, to mature. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It has nothing to do with a man, has nothing to do with my mom, my dad, but this has to do with me. And then anybody that I come in contact with gets the benefit of my years of therapy, right? Not me helping them, but they get the healing version of me, right? They get the maturing version of me versus the immature one who is completely unaware of her and what it is that she's doing, right? And so that intentional behavior is for me. But I've also said that I want to get remarried someday. And I can intentionally unpack baggage that I have, like baggage that I know that I have, baggage that I don't know I have. And I can intentionally go on this journey of unpacking all these different things, right? And not let him walk into World War III, right? So it's like, I'm still gonna have challenges because I'm a human and so is he. But I'm like, but there's World War III going on without him. Why don't I start, waving the white flag by going to therapy and all that to like really grow and mature. Okay. And so that's me being intentional with that for me. Okay. So that is an intentional behavior. The second thing, and this is not a fun one, is to ask friends and family for honest feedback. Now, here's what I'll say about that. Not everybody has the self-awareness to even be aware of you, right? To even be able to see that you have some areas to improve, or is even willing to share that you have areas to improve because they either don't want to upset you, disappoint you, they don't want to hurt you, or they've got their own stuff. And so they're not willing to call out somebody else's stuff. So that sometimes that happens, right? But some people are aware. Some people know how to articulate a thing and that can honestly tell you, hey, I think this, and this. I think that you do this and you mean this, but this is what you actually do. You say you're going to do this, but you don't actually do it, right? I haven't had very many people that I've trusted in my life to say things. So the Holy Spirit has come and like DDT'd me, like, wrestling style, and has said, hey, you don't support people here. You want people to do this, but you're not doing this here. Hey, and he's just like been sucker punching me, but I've been asking, you know what I mean? Because if nobody's telling me, I can ask the one who knows me best, to the point to where I had this instance where I got sick. I had bladder stones, didn't even know I had it. And somebody reached out and said, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I don't know what's going on. I think I have a UTI. And they were like, I'm going to send you something. So they ended up sending me some meds for UTI, cranberry juice, and something else. And I was like, wow, that was really nice. But that's not something I would have done for a person. I just would not have done that. Just wouldn't have thought that. So then when someone else got sick, I had this thought and I was like, oh, but because somebody had already sent it to them, I didn't send them anything, which is fine. But when I heard that they lost their dog, I said, okay, no, this person has never invested any money with me. No, they haven't supported me in that type of way, but they do show up in other ways or whatever. And so I intentionally bought flowers for the dog. I mean, it's like $70 for to buy flowers. You know, you buy flowers online, it's a whole thing. And send them flowers. And they were very thankful, you know? And I recently had to move, right? Not had to, but I wanted to move. And I had a friend that was just like, I'll come help pack one day. And then the next day, it was just like 2 times packing and then moving. It was just like all this stuff. And I'm just like, wow. And so recently she got sick and she was just telling me, oh, I'm sick. And I'm like, what? You're sick? What you need? Do you need anything? And she's like, oh, nobody here is nurturing. And I'm like, mm-mm. I went on Instacart and was like, this, and this. Right? Now, we know when you buy things on Instacart, it costs more. But I was just like, this ain't about that. This is about supporting my person who needs help. And here's how I can be there for them. Because I was like, I want to drive to them because it's like 2 hours away, but they're going to get me sick. And then it was just when I could sit Instacart. And when the person got it, they were like, I'm crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? I'm like, because no one's ever done that for me. I was like, got it. You know what I mean? So it's these little intentional things, you know what I mean? To the point now where she doesn't know it, but I'm getting ready to plan her birthday party. It's not going to cost me very much if I plan it, you know, and I work with people that love and know her. It's just being intentional with the planning and strategy of it to get it done. Same person I know who has a birthday, and every year she's at somebody's event doing makeup and they never recognize her that it's her birthday. And so one year I sent her flowers. And then that same year I was like, well, I got that person's phone number who she's doing makeup for. I'm going to text her. And I've never texted this person a day in my life. And I just said, hey, this is Kenya. I just want you to know it's such and such's birthday today. And they were like, oh, so then they said, happy birthday. So the next year when it happened, I text 2 people that I knew were there. Hey, today is such and such's birthday. And they were like, happy birthday. So then this year, I'm going to tell them a week in advance. I just want to remind you that this year, while she's there, it's her birthday, right? Because these are not people that are intentional. They don't intentionally think about other people or her. So I'm like, I'm doing this, you know what I mean? And that's an intentional thing that I can do. Doesn't cost me anything. It just costs me thought, time, and intention, right? And we all have those moments or those people who are so thoughtful and so intentional, and we're just like, and we just kind of take it. But it's really important for us to start to become those types of people, because otherwise we just take from a person and never give. And then guess what happens? Those people stop giving because they just don't have anything to give to us anymore. And it's just not right. Just always take and never give, okay? So that's intentional. The third thing is that you can ask your partner, in what ways could you improve in a specific area? This is your partner, your intimate partner, your husband, your wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, right? And this person has the opportunity to really hurt you because they are really close to you. You're really, really sensitive to them. But this is the person where you got to give grace to. They may not say what you want them to say, how you want them to say it, whatever. But if you want to be a good partner to that person, it is really valuable that you know that answer. It's really valuable. I remember I heard somebody on social media one time, they were virgins when they got married, and she said to her spouse, is our sex life always going to be like this? And he was like, he was so hurt by the question. And I think he responded to her not well, because who would, you know, and I remember asking my ex-husband that same question because when I met him, I was not experienced and he didn't like that either. But I had good intentions. I was like, I just didn't understand why, I thought this was supposed to be better than this, you know? And so is she, you know, but that now their life is a lot better because they had to be able to have these types of conversations. You know what I mean? And so it's important for you to get feedback from your significant other, right? So you can see the areas that you just can't see. You know what I mean? That's like, I know that I have like an Ace Ventura type of house. I know it. I have 3 cats. 15, 9, and 8. They are extremely hairy. They do things that the average person would be like, what is going on, right? Like one of my cats, Maui, she is always in the same spot, sitting on top of a heating pad. She just loves the heating pad. And the average person would say, we're not keeping that heating pad on day long. That's going to burn up the couch. We're not doing that. Right? The average person would say that. But I'm like, this is my cat. My heating pad is my house. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's important that, I begin to think about those things because someone's going to come into my environment. You know what I mean? I'm going to go into their environment, or like a lot of times when I do my hair, I like to do my hair in front of the TV because I want to be doing something because it's boring. You know what I mean? But I'm like, Kenya, when you do that, you splatter stuff, your hair gets on the couch and whatever. It's really important for you to like pull up your little carpets in the bathroom, do your hair in there, and sweep your hair when you finish. You know what I'm saying? But there's going to be areas where my significant other is going to say, well, this and that. And I may not like the answer to that. But if I want to intentionally grow and stay close to that person and constantly be working on myself, I will ask them and they will ask me. Next to the last thing is making a plan to pray and reading your Bible. Intentional, right? Because the truth is we are all busy. Like if you live in America, we all have these jobs. Because it's expensive to be here. And, there's the busyness of life. But we have to figure out, well, how can I go to sleep earlier, wake up earlier, and actually give God at least 15, 20 minutes of my time every day? Right? I didn't always used to be someone who read the Bible. I did not always used to be someone who prayed. I did not always used to be someone who wrote in a journal. But my life has spun out of control so much, and I had no peace. I had no joy. I had nothing. And I was like, I've got to do something different. And here was the one area that I could start to change. And I started with the 15 minutes. And now it's like, it's about 35, 40 minutes each day now. And it's a huge blessing. The times when I don't have it, I can see the difference. The times that I do have it, I can feel the difference, right? Especially when I get a good time in, good cry in, because I cry all the time about everything. When I can get that good time in with all that, I can see the difference in my life and in my day and in my ability to hear God when I'm walking with God, And so if you want to grow your relationship with God and you're intentionally closest with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, it's dedicating time to pray and read your Bible. Can't say that enough. And our pastor said to us all the time. Lastly, but certainly not least, is that the phrase? Lastly, but certainly not the least, I think that's the phrase. Anyway, is joining a ministry at church and actually connecting with people. We all have said, I want to make new friends. I want to make friends at church. There's all these cliques, people that don't talk to me, that don't connect with me and whatever. But when is the last time you joined a ministry at church and didn't just leave church immediately after, but stuck around talking to people, connecting with people, going out to lunch with people, going out to dinner with people, just asking, when is the last time you actually tried to coordinate something to connect with people? I'll tell you about me personally. So I've been at my church now since October, and we're coming up on a year, and it has been a journey. Now I sit up front, second row, because I cannot sit in the middle or the back. I get so distracted. So I see the same people every week. Now these are kind of like the leaders in the church. So I'm new. Like there's no loyalty to like me or whatever. You know what I mean? And so like I can't expect for them to try to connect with me. And so I have struggled some of like trying to find my connection, trying to find my people. And so I joined a ministry. I joined the hosting ministry. It was basically where we greet people when they come in, do tithes, offering, and all that. And then I joined the prayer team, right? From there, I've been slowly meeting people, but then there was someone that said there's a brunch group that meets once a month with women. You should go to that. Started going to the brunch, right? And I've been going consistently when I don't have something else planned. And so then they reached out and said, hey, to the group, I'm not going to be able to plan the brunches anymore. Can someone else step up? And I've been saying, I want to build community here. And I was like, well, all it takes for me to do this is to figure out a place to have the brunch, tell everybody, call, make the reservations, show up. Like that's all that it takes. And everybody gets to know me and I get to know them. So I said, yes, I'll take it. Right. And it's not a lot more work or anything. Like, it's just making a call or two, or everybody giving me recommendations for brunch spots. That's kind of it. And then it's my way of connecting with people and building more community. And because I am intentionally trying to make friends, I am intentionally trying to connect. This past Saturday, it was a whole other group said, hey, we're going to go to this place for lunch or whatever. Never been there. Overpriced sub sandwiches, really small. But I was like, I want to connect. I got my food, sat, talked to every single person that was there, did the thing of trying to connect. Now I am working on having a game night at my house. More than likely, it'll probably be at maybe the community room if it's available, right? And that whole goal is bringing people together and having fun playing games. That's it, because I want to build community, and I'm like, I cannot expect people to invite me to things when they barely even know me, because I'm still fairly new here in San Diego. So I'm being intentional, right? And so this is me saying to you, whatever it is that you want to happen, you've got to be intentional about it. Whatever it is that you want to have happen, you have got to be intentional about it. It takes time and energy and effort, but the results are amazing. You know what I mean? Like I can guarantee you, when my friend finds out that I'm planning a party for her, it's not going to be a surprise because she's got to be in on it because I don't know her people. She is going to be overwhelmed with like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is what you would do. I am going to do this for you and you are going to enjoy it. She's going to be overwhelmed. And I'm going to reach out to so many people. And the ones that can't make it, I'm going to say, can you send her a gift card? $25. Can you just send her a gift card? Just something, right? Every single person I'm going to reach out to. And she's going to get so much money, so many gift cards. And the ones that can't actually make it to the event, I'm going to have them record themselves, like saying happy birthday to her. And then I'm going to take the compilation of the video and give it to my video editor and create this cute little montage for her. Why? This is somebody who gives to everybody, everything she has. And I'm like, this is something that I can do because I love this person. I am getting closer and closer and closer to this person. And what would I do if that was Joy, my very best friend? This is what I would do. And this person is acting like a best friend. And I'm like, this is what we doing here. Like, this is what we doing here. So hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed it, tell me what part you enjoyed, here on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, I don't even know that you're listening. You got to tell me. Y'all will tell me on a random time, and I'm like, you're listening to the podcast. So it's always good to actually know that you're listening. So if you haven't written a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, something, please do. I'd appreciate it so much. And so thank you so much for listening and watching today.